Have you ever wondered what connected a Roman merchant to a Chinese silk weaver, a Persian trader to an Indian spice grower, long before airplanes, Zoom calls, or global stock markets? Centuries ago, a vast web of winding paths, caravans, and cultural exchanges shaped what could be called the world's first global economy. Welcome back to Timeless Knowledge Discoveries, the podcast where we travel across history's hidden highways to uncover the roots of our modern world. I'm your host, Noah Lobby, and today we're diving deep into a topic that was as much about silk as it was about soul. The Silk Road, the original global economy. It wasn't just a route. It was a lifeline, a cultural bridge, a highway of ideas, inventions, and interactions that would transform the ancient world and ours too. Buckle up, because we're about to take the original global trade route across time and continents. Let's ride. Picture this. It's around 138 BCE. The Han Dynasty is thriving in China. Emperor Wu is looking to expand influence beyond his borders. So, he sends a young envoy named Zhong Qian westward on a diplomatic mission. He never reaches his intended goal, but what he finds sparks something far bigger. Zhong returns 13 years later with tales of magnificent Central Asian kingdoms, rich cultures, and, most importantly, new trade opportunities. This is the moment the Silk Road begins to take shape. And yes, it started with actual silk. Chinese silk was unlike anything the Western world had ever seen, shimmering, soft, luxurious. It became a coveted treasure from Rome to Egypt. But the Silk Road wasn't one road. It was a network, stretching over 7,000 kilometers, from Chang'an, modern Lebanon, in China, through the deserts of Central Asia, past Samarkand, Baghdad, and Damascus, finally reaching the shores of the Mediterranean Sea. It was an empire-spanning, civilization-connecting superhighway of the ancient world. Despite the name, the Silk Road moved more than just silk. Here's a taste of what traveled its dusty paths. Spices from India, cinnamon, cloves, and black pepper that transformed bland medieval diets. Glassware and jewelry from the Roman Empire. Tea, porcelain, and paper from China. Carpets and saffron from Persia. Horses from Central Asia. Precious stones, ivory, and even slaves in some darker corners. But trade was only the surface. Beneath it flowed something far more powerful: culture. It was on the Silk Road that Buddhism spread from India to China, that Islam reached China, and that Nestorian Christianity moved east. It was a cultural kaleidoscope. A living, breathing exchange of ideas, art, languages, and technologies, even diseases, as the Black Death would later prove. The Silk Road also gave rise to some of the greatest cities of the ancient world: Samarkand, Bukhara, Kasha, glittering crossroads where markets thrived and stories flowed like wine at a banquet. Let's zoom in on a few vivid characters. Marco Polo, the Venetian merchant who traveled to the court of Kublai Khan in the 13th century and returned to Europe with tales that inspired explorers for generations. Xuanzang, the Chinese monk who traveled to India in search of Buddhist scriptures, documenting everything from weather patterns to rituals along the way. Countless nameless traders, camel drivers, and artisans who risked it all to move goods, ideas, and hope across treacherous deserts and snow-capped mountains. Imagine a caravan of 500 camels, carrying bolts of silk, fragrant spices, and ancient scrolls, moving slowly under the blazing sun of the Taklamakan Desert, passing through oases where languages mix and myths are born. These weren't just tradespeople. They were the original global citizens. The Silk Road may seem like a distant memory, a relic of the past wrapped in desert dust and legends, but its lessons are more relevant now than ever. Let's break down what this ancient web of trade can teach us about the modern world. Lesson 1. Globalization isn't new, it's human. We often talk about globalization like it's a modern phenomenon, born from the internet or air travel. But in truth, the impulse to explore, exchange, and connect is as old as civilization itself. The Silk Road proves that people have always found ways to reach across borders to trade not just goods, but knowledge, stories, and innovations. In today's polarized world, where wars are going up and suspicion often outweighs trust, the Silk Road reminds us that curiosity and cooperation have always driven progress. Lesson 2. Ideas are more powerful than goods. Silk, spices, and porcelain may have drawn the first merchants to the road, but it was ideas that truly transformed societies. The transmission of Buddhism from India to China, the movement of medical texts from Persia to the Mediterranean, the cross-pollination of architectural styles, languages, astronomy, and philosophy, all of these shaped civilizations in ways material goods never could. Think about it. How much more impactful was the invention of paper, which traveled from China through the Islamic world to Europe, than even the finest silk? It revolutionized how we record knowledge, preserve ideas, and communicate across generations. Today's version of that is not paper, but data, and just like the past, sharing knowledge remains our most powerful tool. Lesson 3. Collaboration beats isolation. Yes, there were wars, rivalries, and empire building along the Silk Road. But the periods of greatest prosperity came when cities and states worked with each other rather than against. Take Samarkand in modern-day Uzbekistan. It flourished not because it dominated, but because it welcomed. It became a melting pot of languages, crafts, cuisines, and faiths. People didn't just pass through, they stayed, shared, traded, and thrived. Compare that with what happens today when supply chains are disrupted by geopolitical tension. When nations isolate themselves, the ripple effects hit everyone: higher prices, scarcity, mistrust. The Silk Road teaches us that interdependence isn't weakness, it's strength. And it's been true for millennia. Lesson 4. Technology doesn't replace connection, it enhances it. It might sound odd to bring technology into a discussion about the Silk Road, but think about it this way. Every era had its innovation. The camel saddle, for example, was revolutionary for desert travel. The invention of wind-powered ships opened sea routes that became maritime extensions of the Silk Road. Fast forward to today, and we have the internet, blockchain, AI, logistics platforms, and e-commerce, all part of our own Silk Road 2.0. But technology is only as impactful as the human intention behind it. The ancient traders knew this. They made eye contact. They spoke multiple languages. They bartered, bargained, and built trust in bazaars. We may zoom now, but the same principles apply. Human connection remains the currency of trust, whether you're trading saffron or streaming software. Lesson 5. Diversity drives innovation. The Silk Road was a mosaic of identities. An Armenian merchant might sell Indian spices to a Persian noble while exchanging stories with a Chinese Buddhist monk. Every conversation sparked possibility. Today, businesses and societies that embrace diversity in thought, culture, language, and background are the ones that lead innovation. The Silk Road wasn't homogeneous, it was heterogeneous, hybrid, and beautifully complex. That complexity was its superpower. So, next time someone tells you that difference is a barrier, remind them the Silk Road thrived because of difference, not despite it. Whether you're a student, a digital nomad, an entrepreneur, or just someone fascinated by how the world works, the Silk Road isn't just a historical topic. It's a guidebook, a reminder that our future can be brighter if we look to the wisdom of our connected past. The ancient caravans may be gone, but the spirit of exchange, of shared dreams, mutual respect, and global possibility is very much alive. The Silk Road wasn't just a trade route. It was a living thread that wove the world together, one silk strand at a time. It reminds us that we're all connected, that trade is more than profit, that ideas are meant to be shared, and that history isn't a thing of the past, it's a mirror to our present. Thanks for traveling through time with me on Timeless Knowledge Discoveries. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you never miss a chance to learn something inspiring. And remember, sometimes to understand the future, you have to follow the ancient roads. Until next time, stay curious, stay timeless,